Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we'll be taking a look through my collection of vintage paperback box sets. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we'll start off with a bit of memorabilia. So this is a Penguin catalogue. It's their new books and complete stock list of all series published under the Penguin imprint, 25th of November 1965. Now, I've got this catalogue from my Penguin catalogue collection for one reason, and that is that we've got a box set on the front there, the Penguin Parkinson, but also inside we've got this one here, which is quite a nice little advert for the box sets that were out at that time. And it's quite interesting that it says order and display these superb new gift boxes for big Christmas sales. So I'm not 100% sure when Penguin and other publishers for that matter started making little slipcase sets that we're familiar with today, but I think it was around this sort of time, mid-1960s, possibly a little bit before that. So there's the big Penguin reference one there, Penguin Parkinson. That's a Pelican one there, which we've got to have a look at, gamesmanship, a Somerset Morn, Runciman pack, and a really nice one there, which is the complete Chronicles of Narnia, a huge pack, and it does sort of tell you the pricing on these as well. So the Narnia one was 24 shillings, and the Parkinson pack there was 10 shillings and sixpence. But yeah, so certainly Penguin were keen to promote them, and I, over the years, have ended up getting a bit of a collection of them, but some of my more favourite authors, I'm still on the lookout for nice examples. But I've got about 20 or so to show you, not just from Penguin, I've got a few other vintage publishers as well. So if we have a look at the first one here, and I thought a great one to start would perhaps be this Mervyn Peake one there, which is the Titus or Gormagast trilogy with Titus Grown, Gormagast, and Titus Alone. Now, one of the things you find with box sets is they don't always turn up in the nicest of conditions. So this one's got a little bit of staining on. Usually, because they've been sat on the shelf like that for ages, they sometimes get a bit sunned, which this one is a little bit, but also they get really dusty and dirty on the top edge. So that's a key to it. But generally speaking, and this is the case here, generally speaking, the books turn up in quite nice condition. They've either never been read or one book has been read within them. That tends to be the story with box sets. I did see this particular set, which is really nice, these Penguin Modern Classics. I mean, it's a beautiful set. Oh, one of the other things, key factors with box sets is that the actual books themselves aren't always first printings. This one actually is first print from 1970, but they're not always like that. Let's just check these other ones here. Yeah, this is the reprint from 1970, but was first published in 1968. If we check Gormagast itself, this is probably a reprint as well. Yeah, reprinted 1970, first published in 69. So that's absolutely par for the course when you're picking up box sets, and in the fact that they're generally not first printings, but they are generally in nice condition. Now, if you're lucky, you can just slide them in. If you're not absolutely too fussed about the condition, you get them in either way, and you can just sort of shake them in, and sometimes you need to shake them out as well. But we'll put them up that way round, and we'll have a look at them at the end. So this is another one. This is a slightly later one. This is Thor Heyerdahl, and this was his 3 great exploration books. These are all huge hits in their day, and I particularly like Aku Aku, which is the one where he explores Easter Island. I think that's probably my favourite of his, although I've read all 3 of these. Sometimes these are I've not gone out of my way to look for box sets, but when they've come my way, I thought I just can't resist them, They sometimes turn up on dealer catalogues, usually pretty cheap, in all honesty. But this is typical of a box set in that it looks like it's hardly been read, if not read at all. This has got one spine crease in it, Aku Aku, and the rare editions, yeah, hardly touched. So, yeah, really nice copies of those ones. And as I said, nice to have in a box set form. Now, I remember as a kid, and you may laugh, but I was telling Steve, I was chatting with Steve, the Outlaw box set, and I was telling him about the time when I was a kid, and I used to love box sets, and I can remember going into bookshops and seeing like dump bins of them, piles and piles of dump bins of all the authors of the time, and I would, all the series that I was collecting, like Doctor Who or the 3 Investigator books and things like that, all have box sets, plus the contemporary authors as well. Like Len Dayton box sets, and all of them, absolutely all of them. So they do tend to exist, and I think they were just as popular in America as they were over here. Although the box sets in the States tended to close over, so it was literally a sealed box, as it were, rather than ours, which were more like slipcases where you could pull the books in and out. This is quite a nice one. I really like the puffin ones. I did have one for the Moomin books, but I sadly got shot of it. I put it up on Instagram, this is years ago, and someone in Japan offered me a ridiculous amount of money for it, so I said, yeah, you can have it. I haven't got round to getting one back. I've got all the books, but I just haven't got one back. So this is Dr. Dolittle. This was, well, they did the film, and the film ended up being a bit of a flop, but they thought it was going to be absolutely massive. So there was always a lot of memorabilia for Dr. Dolittle, but perhaps none of it did that well. These aren't bad. I mean, another quite common thing you'll find is that if the box set has been stood in the sun, something like these pinks, that's just faded. Those two there should be just as pink or purpley, as it were, as the other two, but they're not. And it's I've probably replaced these as I've been going along. I mean, which I do sometimes do, But there we go. I'll just pop these in order. So 66, 67, 68, and 70. And as long as the books match what's supposed to be in here, I honestly don't mind too much. I do like to keep the books as they were intended. However, this is what I was saying to Steve. So when I was a kid, I distinctly remember going into somewhere like W.H. Smith's, and I would pick up like the Doctor Who box set or the 3 Investigators box set, and I'd swap the books out for ones that I actually wanted that I didn't already have, which he thought was hilarious or also travesty. So this is a later sort of mid-70s one, I think, puffin. Might even be teetering on 1980, but it's the puffin box of games and puzzles. So a little bit later than my traditional sort of period for collecting Penguin and Puffin, but all the same, the books are actually in really nice condition. I mean, these all came out in, like, this was a 1960s one originally, but you can see it's untouched really, even though it's the reprint. So the reprint, 1980. So I think that's probably when these editions date from. 81, that one. So we're managing, by seeing when they were printed, to date the box set. That is 81 as well. Yeah. So any of these books, if you find the originals, you're doing very well. This is 81, a reprint as well. This is one I don't think I've got at all. I've got the other ones. This is the more recent one. And yeah, this is the first print of this one, published by Puffin in 81, and that's the first print of that one. So that would have been the brand new one, which is quite handy because that's one I actually haven't got in my main Puffin collection, but the rest of those I've got, and they all came out in the 1960s. And that's quite a nice box set. And to give you an idea with regards to pricing on these, this particular box set I picked up for about £8.50, including postage, which I thought was very, very good. I picked up another Puffin one recently this year for like a £5 in a bookshop. So there are bargains out there. It seems to me that the bigger the author, like George Orwell or John Wyndham or somebody like that, tends to fetch the good money. And, well, I guess understandably, So here's one here, the Penguin Parkinson's. This is like a 60s one, main series ones. These Parkinson ones are not my favourite. These are a little bit dry. I think these are like legal advice. Obviously, contemporary of its day, but it's nice to see nice, really mint penguins. But once again, they may not be first printings. That one actually is. Not that it matters with these. That one is as well. And that one is. course, the other thing is, it could be that the books just didn't sell well to begin with, and Penguin thought, well, we'll whack them all together into a box set and see if we can shift a few that way, you know. So these were the sorts of decisions that were made. If they had surplus copies of a book, they may well get put into a box set. Now, this one here was actually my dad's one, and I remember getting it for him. So the books they're just reading copies, and I haven't got round to updating them. Although I'm a huge fan of the Hornblower series, I really, really am. I think they're fantastic. One of my best series of all. This box set is beautiful, and I've actually had this is the second one of these I've had. The first one was read so much between myself and my dad, the box set fell to bits. But it's really just because this is quite a nice example of the box, and I'll replace the books in due course. But it's absolutely superb, and they were the correct ones that were in there. Do love a bit of Hornblower. Right, another 60s one here, which is lifemanship. So Stephen Potter, gamesmanship, lifemanship, one-upmanship, and supermanship. I've just realised that this is actually, I think this is actually missing a book, because it should have 4. Gamesmanship, lifemanship, one-upmanship, super. Yeah, I mean, I know I've got the books anyway, but I'm going to have to check that. I did think that this box set was a little bit thin, so this should actually have 4 in. It's just, you can just see there must be another real thin one to squeeze in there. So there you go. I mean, I have got all these, so I shall have to go back to the bookcase for that. Now, this is quite nice. This is from the Penguin English Library. So this is not the Penguin main series. Thomas Hardy, the great novels. Look at this. That's really nice, isn't it? £4.15. Let's have a look at the actual books. So yeah, I don't have loads of Penguin English Library. Now look at this. Look how that's caught a little bit of sun at some point, and it's just bled through on the cover. Look at that. I don't have a massive collection of Penguin English Library, but I am getting some. So published at Penguin English Library 1978, but this one this edition was from 1982. There, Casterbridge. Yeah, they've all just seeped in and got a little bit of sun on them. And obviously, you know, I don't have my books in any sort of sunlight at all. My wife says I live like a mole. Well, only in my in my library. I don't want any sun getting in there, of course, you know. Anyway, quite a nice little box set, Thomas Hardy. And these sorts of ones you can just pick up for a few pounds on places like eBay. I mean, they are not expensive. Now, this one was interesting. This is the collected short stories of W. Somerset Maugham. And I was with Steve, the outlaw bookseller, and we were at Morris's at Zardoz Books. And he had the box set, this slipcase, on a shelf in his office. I said, "Oh, Morris, would you mind if I had that slipcase?" Knowing I was doing a video on box sets, and he said, no, you can have it, sort of thing. So he just gave it to me. I mean, it's not mint or anything like that, and you can see it's faded on the spine there where it's been stood up. But I knew I had all 4 of the books, and these are fairly common editions. These ones, the collected short stories. So generally speaking, something like this, I've actually got the best first edition copies will be in my main run of Penguin, but if I've got doubles like this, then they end up in the box set, you know. But this was a particularly good one, and I was really pleased to get this. And as I said, the actual case itself didn't cost me anything, and Morris just gave it to me gratis, because he's a good egg, isn't he, you know. Right, time for another Puffin one now, which was this one. This is one I got this year. I got it from Jack Ryder Books in Liscard, and it was all of a £5. A Puffin Box of Magic. Look at that. Really, really nice. I just love this one. Love the graphics on it. Very, very nice. A bat on the top there. Oh, let's have a look at the actual books and see if we can date it. The Land of Green Ginger. This is a nice Edward Ardizoni jacket on this one. And usually we just have to look at the reprint date, don't we? Reprinted 72. I suspect it's a little bit later than that, but we'll have a look. Carbonell. No, 71. Maybe I'm wrong. Yes, it does only say 20p in there, doesn't it? 71. And the mini pins. 1972. So that is how we're dating this box set. So this is evidently from around 1971, 72, isn't it? You know, which is, that's a little way to date these things. There are other similar ones in the puffin range. None that I'm like, oh, I must get that. But there are several that I've now got my eyes peeled for, you know. This is another one that just came my way. Once again, it was at Zardos. It was at Morris's a book fair that he had. And I thought, oh, there's a misread box set there, sat on the shelf, and he had it for £1.50. This entire box set. So one of the books in there, as you can see, is a bit hammered. It's got a couple of them, in fact, got spotting on. But I thought, well, it's quite a nice Penguin box set. I mean, it's misread. God Almighty, let's be honest, not really my cup of tea. But at the same time, they're nice period pieces, and the box set itself wasn't too bad. So there's a couple of the books there I'd like to replace, particularly that one there. It'll probably end up costing me more than the box set itself, which was, as I said, all of £1.50, which wasn't too bad at all. So the next one we're looking at is this one here, which is actually a Pelican box set. G.M. Trevelyan's Illustrated English Social History, complete in 4 volumes, and it does actually show the box set on the back, and well, here it is. Mine's a bit of a beaten up old one, but it is what it is. The numbering was consecutive, A672, 3, 4 and 5. Illustrated Social History, there we are, look at this. I don't think this is particularly difficult to get. But Penguin made a big deal about it, in so much that it even got its own little flyer. So there we are. Pretty nice, that one. That's my one and only Pelican box set. Now, this next one I got fairly recently. This is probably the most common box set of all. It's the one for the TV adaptation of War and Peace. Anthony Hopkins. And this one's quite easy to get your hands on. I think it was early 70s, as I recall. 1972. Once again, no one could face reading War and Peace, at least not in this. You'd be amazed at how many mint ones of these are online. I'm just saying, a lot. Now this is a very 60s one. Look at this, the Love box set, complete in 3 illustrated volumes. Love in the English, Love in the French, and Love in the Spanish. Nina Epton. This is very 60s, isn't it, this one? Yeah, quite a nice little set, that. Very much of its time. My box set is not mint, it's a little bit worn, but it's the only one I've ever seen of this. Let's just have a little look at date-wise. 1964, that edition. So this is one of their earlier ones. Yeah, also 64. And 64. But it could well have been, of course, that these books just hadn't sold very well, and Penguin thought, well, let's stick them all in a box set and hope that someone goes for it in one hit. You just don't know, do you? Without looking at the file, we don't know what decision was actually made. Now, this is a humour one. This is a Spike Milligan. Everything Happens to Me, the New Milligan Family Mixture. And this is a bit of a mixture of stuff. It is Penguin, but that was a puffin, as was that. So these two here are actually quite scarce puffin books, these ones. Not sure if this is a first in this one or not. No, it's a reprint, 1974, and a silly verse for kids. Also 74, so that sort of dates it, doesn't it? But yeah, it's difficult to understate just how massive these books were. Spike Milligan, as an author, was absolutely huge, and his memoirs and his little books like that were incredibly popular. You just remember seeing them everywhere for a long time. So yeah, that's why that one's turns up quite a bit. Laura Lee, Cider with Rosie, As I Walked Out with Midsummer Morning, and A Rose for Winter. Now, once again, this one's caught a little bit of sun, but apart from that, he's all right. This does look sort of, I don't know, is it 70s, maybe 80s? 73, that one, for Cider with Rosie. I suppose that's his most famous, followed by that one, I would think. Yeah, 73 as well. Yeah, I haven't read A Rose for Winter. I've read the other two, though. Had to do Cider with Rosie for my O-level literature. I was really gutted because the other side of the school were studying the War of the Worlds. So I wanted to change class, but I couldn't. I knew War of the Worlds back to front. Not fair, eh? Right, this is an unusual one. This is the best of Penguins. So it's like a generic box set, but it's Penguin Modern Classics, which is really nice. So they've just basically pulled a little batch of modern classics together and popped them into a box set. And it does include, well, some absolute gems. This is a really nice edition of 1984 with that iconic cover. What's it called? The Engine Room, isn't it? I think it's what it's called. Oh, the Control Room. Yeah. Civil Defence Headquarters, William Roberts. Really, really nice edition of that one. This is 71. That one's dated. High Wind in Jamaica. Also 71. Lord Jim. Joseph Conrad. Yep, so all 71. So that's dates this one. And A Passage to India. So that was the best of Penguins. Well, I mean, certainly 5 classic titles, although I'm less familiar with this one. Obviously, I've heard of the title, but I've never read it. But that edition of 1984 is very, very nice indeed. Yeah, that's a nice box set. Now, we've still got a couple more Penguin ones here. We've got this one here, which is the Penguin Encyclopedia. So this was in that advert we saw at the start in the Penguin catalogue. So this has got 2 Penguin reference books in, the Encyclopedia and the Penguin English Dictionary. Now, when I picked this one up, I think one of the books was a first and one of them was a reprint. So I can't quite remember. Yeah, this was a reprint from September 1965. This is the Penguin Encyclopedia. Really done their jobs on these. This was a first print, but they've really done their jobs by being in the slipcase, and it's kept the books absolutely mint. I mean, you don't ever see this one in such nice condition. It's usually absolutely hammered because of the nature of what it was. It was an encyclopedia. It was designed to be thumbed and referred to. Now, we've got just one more, once I get these in, we've got just one more Penguin one, and it was much later, but I didn't want to not include it because it's an absolutely cracking box set. And it's this one here, which is fairly common to find, the first 10 Penguins, and I'm going to back the camera out so we can have a better look at it. Okay, so this one came out in 1985, and it was published for Penguin's 50th anniversary, and it basically has reprints, facsimile reprints of the first 10 Penguins. It comes with a nice little booklet as well, which we'll have a look at in a sec. And one of the things you find with these is if people have had the books, often people would buy this box set, they wouldn't read the books, but they'd just have them on display like that, and you would find that the books would catch some sun here, so you just they'd be really, yeah, you could see this part of it faded and that bit was really like distinct. So, you know, just look out for these. But this is a cheap box set. I actually had a sun faded set that I'd had for years, and I picked up a brand new sealed set. This was a sealed set, if you can believe it, for £20 off eBay just this year. So this is a replacement set. So it shows they are around. I think they sold loads. They were £25 brand new in actual fact. This is the little leaflet that you get inside. It's got these card biographies of the different authors. There we are. Really, really nice. And a little folder to put them in, which has got a very, very potted history of Penguin in the front there. But they did quite a bit for Penguin 50th, and I am working on a video specifically on that particular anniversary, which will be out in the next couple of weeks. Look out for that one. But that's a really, really nice sort of box set, that one. And not expensive, at £14.95 when it was new. As I said, you can pick this one up for about £20 nowadays. Now we'll end the Penguin ones on a real high, which is this one, which is the J.G. Ballard box set. And this has got that beautiful artwork designed by David Pelham, and this one here with the bomber is unique to this box set. And these were the 4 almost iconic books, you could say, that were contained within. These weren't the first Penguin printings, of course, but they were the Pelham designed ones, which are really, really famous. So a very, very nice box set, that one. This is probably the most collectible because the books themselves are quite collectible. But in the box set here, well, expect to pay, you know, £70 to £90 for a really nice one. But prices do vary. Now I've got one other to show you in pan, which is this one. This is a Pan Piper, if you can believe it, Victoria. Quite unusual. It's a slipcase just for the one book. I don't know why they sort of went to town on this particular one. 15 shillings. Maybe they just thought it was really momentous and warranted having its own sort of slipcase. Maybe it was a bit of a coup for Pan at the time. 1966, so fairly early. But it's funny, when you come across this book, it's often in the slipcase. And like this one, the book has not actually been read, although I'm sure it's very good. But that's the only Pan one I've got. As I said, most publishers did them, but some seemingly are more common than others. And the last one is a Doctor Who one. Now, this one was published in 85, I believe, just as Colin Baker had become the Doctor. This is the Doctor Who gifts. This is the first one. There are actually, I think, maybe 5 or 6 or even 7 different Doctor Who gift sets. And they do have a very particular set of books in them and particular printings. So this is the correct lineup for the books that should have been in this particular box set. The information's available online, but these let's just have a look. As I said, this was just, you know, Target or WHL in 1984, just using up, you know, a few overprinted books. 84, so it looks like this is 84. Yep, 84. And reprinted 1984. So yeah, so all 1984 editions of those Doctor Who ones, you do see them around. They tend to go for about £25 each. I have seen examples still sealed in plastic wrap, never been opened, and obviously those ones go for a little bit more. But yeah, so as it stands right now, that is my vintage box set collection. So here's a quick montage of some of the better looking box sets that I wouldn't mind getting my hands on, you know, over the next sort of year or so, if I can find them cheap enough. Certainly the Paddington ones. There's a nice early Roald Dahl one, a couple of different John Wyndham ones, and a George Orwell one. All of those would be fairly high up on my wants list. And I'd love to get some of the American Door ones, which definitely exist, but tend to be quite expensive. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed looking through my collection of vintage box sets. So that's all I've got for now, which is, as I said, 21, 22 different box sets. So I've probably only scratched the surface of what's actually available out there. But I would certainly like to pick up as many Penguin ones as I can get my hands on, Penguin and Puffin. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback content. And I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.